Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is with a great pleasure that I'm announcing the beginning of the online event jointly organized by the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung offices in Belgrade and Pristina. My name is Ljubica Gojgić. I'm a journalist with Radio Television of Vojvodina, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing the inputs of this discussion, very important discussion, I think, that Friedrich Ebert Stiftung is putting before us. It is about air quality and energy transition in Kosovo and Serbia, and it really stresses the importance of the issue that is becoming more and more important to the citizens of our region. Before we address the issue itself, I would like to kindly invite Max Brandle and Eva Ellereit from respective Friedrich Ebert offices, Stiftung offices in Belgrade and Pristina to officially open today's event.
Thank you, Ljubica. Ladies and gentlemen, it's also my pleasure to welcome you to our Zoom event today, Air Quality and Energy Transition in Kosovo and Serbia. My name is Max Brandle. I'm director of the office of Friedrich Ebert Stiftung here in Belgrade. We have been here for 25 years, since 1996, with our office of Friedrich Ebert Stiftung, a German political foundation, to support democracy in Serbia and the European integration. We are here to assist Serbia on its path towards full membership as in the European Union, but not only Serbia, we have offices all around the region and all around Europe, and we are for the EU perspective and EU membership of the whole region of the Western Balkans. The topic we are addressing today does not concern one country alone and not only the region. It is one challenge we face all together. And we have one common European development in many fields. And with this topic, climate change, energy transition, we are certainly facing these together. And that's also why we are organizing this event between our offices in Belgrade and Pristina. When it comes to climate change and energy transition, air quality is a clear indicator of what citizens feel when it comes to these problems. And it is really graspable with your senses, both in Pristina and Belgrade. And the discussion on this topic has taken up steam in the last couple of years. And I think it is important that we face this without just a focus of one country and one city alone. That's why we have invited experts, and we are glad that we can do this together with our office in Pristina. And I'm happy to hand over to my colleague, Eva Ellereit, who is in charge of our work there. Eva.
Thank you very much, Max, and thank you, Ljubica, for moderating this event. And also from my side, I'm Eva Ellereit. I am the director of the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung office in Pristina. We are celebrating the 21st anniversary of the office this year in 2021. That is very fitting. Also from my side, of course, welcome and thank you very much to the panelists for joining this discussion here and for later sharing your views on this topic. As Max has already outlined, there are challenges, especially in Europe, where it is much better to cooperate than not to cooperate. And it is important to look at what unites us and how we can actually tackle certain challenges together. I think living in the region, everybody knows days where in winter times you cannot go outside without coughing, you cannot walk freely, and you have huge energy bills or face chronic lung diseases because of the air pollution that we all have in the different countries in the Western Balkans. Not only there, but especially there, it is a problem. And therefore, these challenges are also things that unite, I think, the experience of people living in the region. And those are issues that can only be tackled together, as the borders that exist are not relevant for the air that travels across it, and the solutions we have in store to improve the air quality, but also to improve the ways we respond to energy shortages and to global warming also don't know any borders, but rather can transcend them and can improve the way that the different countries react towards the challenges of energy transition. So we are also very happy about this collaboration with FES Belgrade, and we look forward to this discussion. I'm sure there are many interested people from an expert community, but also from a broader public that joined this event today. Civil society has been vocal about these topics across the countries, and we would like to facilitate a constructive discussion about ways forward. So without further ado, I think we can dive into the discussion, and I will hand back to Ljubica. One more thanks also to the teams of FES Belgrade and FES Pristina who put this together, Jeta and Ivana, and I look forward to the insights of our excellent experts who know much more about these specific issues than I do, I'm sure.
Thank you, Max. Thank you, Eva. Indeed, the topic is very important, and I would like to, before we kick off, I would like to invite our followers to send their inputs and questions. Because of the time limitation, we decided to take your questions in written. So please write in chat or in Q&As, and we will select the most interesting or all questions and put them to our panelists. As Max and Eva mentioned, the air pollution is a massive problem of the region. It doesn't need scientific proofs any longer. The problem has become visible and easily detectable. The problem of air pollution, as you all know, brought our cities and towns to the very top of the lists of the most polluted places in the world. Last winter, for example, the air pollution is undisputed a health hazard. The problem became even more visible and even more discussed during this COVID-19 pandemia period. And shamefully to our region, Western Balkans has found itself in a description in European papers and documents described as a sort of a dark hole in Europe when it comes to air pollution, to very polluted areas, and and has been identified as a important polluter of the air throughout Europe. The air does not recognize borders. There are no limitations. So the way our region is described is definitely not such that we should be proud of. Citizens have recognized the problems. It became very important to them. That's my impression. Non-governmental organizations, civil sector are fighting their fight for years. I would say decades. Governments say they understand the problem, but it seems to us that maybe the way they are addressing it is not efficient enough. These are some topics that will be discussed today, and it is my pleasure to announce that today we have with us Mirko Popovic from Renewables and Environmental Regulatory Institute, shorter RERI, from Belgrade, and we also have Rinora Gojani of Balkan Green Foundation from Pristina. We are very much looking, Mirko and Rinora, to your inputs on this important topic. Maybe we should start, Mirko, with just a brief description of where are we now? What's the state of affair when it comes to air pollution?
Thank you, Ljubica, and hello, everyone. Well, as you said in the introduction, the air pollution problem is tackling everyone in the region. It tackles citizens themselves, local communities, governments. I would say also economy and sustainable development as well. The region is sharing many similarities, but also the countries are in some specific situation. But when it comes to similarities, I would say that all countries in the region are fragmented, small and isolated energy markets. They are not rich with resources. The main energy source for particularly for electricity in the region is coal, and this is one of the biggest problem. Coal share in electricity production is very high in almost all countries in the region except Albania, which is rarely on renewables resources. The other issue which is similar to us is a lack of energy efficiency, and all countries are suffering of high energy intensity on the one side, and problems with energy efficiency, particularly in residential sector. I would say that according to the energy transition report of the energy community, it is stated that in the region, but particularly in Kosovo and Serbia, there is a high percentage of households which cannot afford itself proper heating during the winter. Even if I think that even in Kosovo it goes up to 40% of household. It is not much different situation in other countries, but this is the high energy intensity on the one side and high energy consumption in residential sector, and this problem with the affordable energy, or all are signals that we have very bad energy policy, actually. And finally, I would say that what is also similar for all the countries, we are members of the energy community, and we are signatory to the energy community treaty, which should be which should be considered that those countries are required to respect the treaty. However, most of the countries, when it comes to emission of pollutants in the air, do not respect its own obligation, which was signed under the Energy Community Treaty. It is worth to mention that the treaty was prepared more than 15 years ago and signed on 2005, entered into force 2006. All countries were well informed about the implication and what should be the outcome of the treaty, meaning the transposition and proper implementation of environmental energy competition acquis of the European Union. However, now we are facing situation that almost all countries in the Western Balkans do not respect its obligation. It influences public health, it influences economy, and it influences human rights in the whole region. And I think for beginning, it might be enough to say those things are similar to all of us in the region, and finally, the fact that disrespect of laws and disrespect of international treaties is something that should be highly considered in the future political and policy talks.
Thank you, Mirko, for this first impressions from Belgrade. Let's check how the state of affair looks when you are in Pristina. Rinora, what do you think should be added to this list of regional problems?
Absolutely. Mirko was very specific in talking about kind of challenges of all countries that face due to air quality problems and kind of the pathway that we need to follow in order to improve our I'll say our livelihood and our well-being in our countries. We should not see the energy community treaty process as something that it's an obligation, but rather an improvement of our lives and our quality of life. One thing that wasn't mentioned from Mirko, and it's a challenge basically that causes air harm to air quality, is also the transportation sector. It's not only basically energy production and the heating sector, but we must not forget also the transportation, because countries of the Western Balkans and Kosovo specifically, but also Serbia, Bosnia, Northern Macedonia, and so on, have a problem with sustainable transportation. And in a way, countries of the Western Balkans are a graveyard of old cars from elsewhere in the world, but mainly Europe, that are brought in our countries. And basically we continue using them even when they emit more than they should, but at the same time, due to fragility of countries and lack of implementing legislation, there's a problem with the fuel that is used, the quality of the fuel that is mainly imported in our countries, and the ones that we basically burn in order to have energy for whatever sector, let it be the heating, but also the transportation. So basically this uncontrolled pollution, but also the age of power plants that we have, the way we commute, these are all affecting our lives. So I want to emphasize health and lives, because in this pandemic time, I think we've been struggling mostly about indeed the lives of people. One thing that is basic, I will try to be more focused in Pristina to bring facts about how the situation is in Pristina rather than just about the region, because I mean, the same challenges are there. But Kosovo is still doesn't have plans for zones where pollutant levels are exceeding the limits. There has been a progress on monitoring air quality in Kosovo. We have 7 stations in whole Kosovo, but I mean, the screens are only placed in Pristina. So citizens of Pristina get informed in real time while they're walking in the city center, whereas the others have to enter this online platform that exists. But still, that's a positive step that we should assess as a good thing that is happening. Nevertheless, I should emphasize that Kosovo still has no development or alignment with acquis communautaire for industrial pollution and risk management. And this is a requirement within the energy community that Kosovo needs to fulfill. What else I would want to add in this is that most of the countries of the Western Balkans, but Kosovo as well, we transpose directives in our national legislation, but when it comes to implementing them, of course, there's struggles for doing so. One of the problems or challenges that I can also emphasize is the energy strategy of Kosovo that is fully kind of supporting a new power plant in Kosovo, which definitely is not the path forward. And luckily, the project has died now. So basically, Kosovo has a new momentum to catch in order to show commitment for decarbonization, which will definitely contribute to the air quality, but also would help the energy transition, which I'm sure we will be talking in the second part. But the action that Kosovo is drafting, but not only Kosovo, but also other countries of the Western Balkans are drafting national energy and climate plans, is a positive step. But the point is on how ambitious and how realistic will we be in basically showing commitment to decarbonize our countries. I will stop for now.
Yes, thank you, Renora, very much. And we'll just follow from where you stopped. It is all about, they say, energy transition. It is a process that does not happen overnight. It takes changes of legislations. It takes political will, which is important. It takes good understanding from the part of citizens. It takes a thorough plan. I think from the part of the governments and decision makers. Mirko, this week actually, Serbian parliament adopted a set of laws. I think it was 4 of them in the package dealing with the energy. And the representatives of the ministry said the changes of the legislation are opening path to this energy transition. How does it look like? I mean, there is an obligation. It is both question for Mirko and Renora. There is a need, obvious need of citizens to have a clean air. There is an obligation of the whole region to adapt itself, to elevate itself to the European standards. So why haven't we started yet?
Well, when there are no mutual understandings about standards and about the benefits of improving energy and environmental policy, then I would rather focus on obligations, on international treaties, and the legal implication of disrespect of such treaties. So I don't think that societies in the Western Balkans are aware of that, what you said, the benefits. And to be clear, even though if we go back a few decades in the past, the European Union, actually the European community was not in a similar situation, but pretty similar situation. You know, the first action plan on environmental protection on the community level was not adopted because of the idea of protection of environment and of some idealistic reasons, but because that Europe understand that the way the economy is developed and the way of human habits and the way how people are treating environment will result with a lower and lower quality of life. So it is European environmental policy is a result of concrete needs and understandings of concrete needs for the countries itself and for the community as well. So I don't see that we have the similar situation here in the Western Balkans still. It is clearly understand. You mentioned also, this is important, you mentioned political will. I think it's important to discuss a little bit about it. Political will was expressed on several levels. When we are speaking about Serbia, it was expressed in a long time ago, 2003, in Thessaloniki summit, when Serbia agreed, and actually Serbia was faced with the perspective of joining European Union, and then also in Athens 2005 when Serbia signed the Energy Community Treaty. Those were acts of political will. After that, in several elections from 2000 onwards, the political parties which won elections won it based on EU integration agenda. So political will is there. Another thing is a question. It is accountability. It is accountability towards the obligation. Once the last November, Western Balkans countries signed the green agenda in Sofia in November, and agreed to, as you said, to follow and to align with long-term European climate and energy goals, meaning to become the part of the community which strive to be climate neutral until 2050. At this moment, with this projection of rise of coal capacities in the region, which is projected to 1.5 gigawatts in next 10 years, I don't see how the countries will align with these goals, which were signed. So the political will doesn't mean that you signed some green agenda and said you will do something. It means you really do. And this is I would link it with the adoption of the new legal documents in Serbia. It is good that we have new law on renewables. It is needed, but however, when you look into the document, you will see that the document is not completed. We introduce new policy instruments such as prosumers, such as energy communities or energy cooperatives. We try to introduce new market instruments to support renewables, but the document is not completed. We need several bylaws to make it implementable. And I don't see, to be honest, I don't see as this package of law as progress, particularly because the public debate between different actors, experts community, politicians, civil society was not held. It was held like in a pure bureaucratic means. In very short terms, I would say that society is surprised with this package of laws because it was not announced in the way that it should be if the government want to develop the documents which will be successfully implemented. It is the same with the climate law recently adopted in Serbia. It is the same with climate strategy, which was developed more than 2 years ago and did not adopt it yet. So there is a different, I would, when we say political will, I would rather say we need accountability. And this is the first, I would like in the next round to speak about possible solutions. The first solutions, the essence is those who was not successful in implementation of policies and its obligation should be accountable in political, legal, and social sense of meaning.
Thank you, Mirko. Rinora, how do you imagine healthy, fair, well-crafted energy transition? What we have seen in the region in the past decade, I would say, is introducing the options that people recognize as another attack attack on their property, on their preserved space, natural parks. I'm talking about mini power plants. They became a huge issue. People do not understand why do you put a mountain river in the production of a so-called green energy, and at the same time why you are destroying the whole ecosystem around that mountain river. And when you are saying, well, that is a solution that should replace the energy production from fossil fuels, then people have problems understanding, and they do not support it. Recently, we reported last year, I think, we reported about joint action of Serbs and Albanians in Strpce who are fighting now for a couple of years to defend their river there and the ecosystem there, which they think is important. So how do you cure one disease without opening a serial of other problems?
Yeah, thank you for your question. Indeed, you showed, I mean, ways of cooperation that come naturally from people who think about their well-being. We should not forget, I mean, energy is an important kind of product for our lives, and we should not forget that every mode of energy production has an impact in the environment, but we should think what's the best suitable energy source that needs to be installed. So basically, we should think about technologies that have a less impact in the environment. Renewable energy is an energy that doesn't harm the environment. And these actions for hydropower plants actually were the best thing that the community could have done in order to fight for their rights. And even in constitutions, water is considered as, I mean, the primary source of it should be used for drinking water and then for production of electricity. Whereas it seems that this was misused from every country and from Kosovo too, because there were planned 77 small hydropower plants to be built in these rivers that actually cannot handle all that investment. That's why there were a lot of problems, but luckily now in Kosovo there's a new government which hydropower plant problems seem to be a priority for them. Just yesterday the new minister went to a site where there is a problem with hydropower plants. But actually, one of the problems that seemed to be, it was that every time when an official would announce that they're going to visit XY site where a hydropower plant is, the company would secure that there's a flow of river going so that people think that the situation is well. But all inhabitants in other dates where there was no officials visiting the site were complaining that the level of river was decreasing. And this because the companies would not implement the standards that are to leave the flow of the river on the percentage that is a standard. So the new minister went one day prior to see the site and then compare it on the day when he announced the visit. And the difference from pictures and the evidence that they showed was tremendously different, because you could see that indeed companies were in a way drying the river, but for the public eye, they would let it flow. So that example that you showed, I think that will, with a new government, will come to an end, and we will have a better situation with rivers, at least, because it's not an energy transition to cause problem. But we think that another element that countries of the Western Balkans and especially Kosovo need to change in their legislation, but not only in the legislation, but in practice as well, is the bidding procedure of renewable energy projects. Because so far we operate with feed-in tariffs, where companies on their own would do the feasibility study and would find the spot and would make the investment. But it is important that these projects start with an auctions. Because that is more cost effective, and it showed that the environment is also preserved, and the cost of it would not be very high, as it is perceived in the Western Balkans that renewable energy costs more than fossil fuel energy. But we should not forget that the cost of fossil fuel, we should think about the environmental cost and the health cost, which tops up to the bill of electricity that we pay to the company. So it is important that the legislation is in line based on the electricity market. So yeah, this was.
Maybe Renora, you could take the first and then to Mirko, you could follow suit. The first inputs from other participants. What is business doing? How do you see the role of business community? And secondly, do you guys believe in a legal combat against the polluters? Do you believe in the action that would mean taking the polluters to courts, filing lawsuits against the polluters? Would that be whose role should that be? Do you believe that your sector could follow that path as well?
Yeah. Absolutely. We as Balkan Green Foundation work with, the way of work we do is a multi-actor partnership. Basically, we try to bring together not only stakeholders and civil society, but also businesses and academia, because this is the approach that kind of every sector and every aspect is analyzed and discussed. We know that businesses think about the benefit of theirs, but civil society is there to kind of watchdog on how the legislation is changing, improving, because mostly legislation change comes not only from because the EU acquis needs to be implemented, but because as well we as civil society do studies and assess that XY law needs to be amended, because as it is, it's not implementable. So basically the civil society especially in Kosovo, is playing a role to improve legislation for the benefit of citizens and the free market in a way. So I think that the three working together is important in order to have a better legislation. I think due to civil society pressure and businesses pressure, now legislation allows prosumers. Because before just 2 years in Kosovo, you could not put electricity in the grid. You would get a fine if you would do so. But now with the legislation improved, prosumers are in place. Nevertheless, they still don't get compensated with money, but they get compensated electricity per electricity, which definitely it is a problem on its own, because you're giving clean energy and probably getting dirty energy, because the ratio between fossil energy in Kosovo and clean one is 95% dirty energy and only 5% is clean energy. There is investment going on in private houses. More and more people are investing in solar roofs. But we as an organization also are implementing projects that basically show that an energy transition can happen. Of course, our capacity is not in investing in big scale projects, but rather in small scale projects in agricultural cooperatives, in cultural sites, or even public buildings such as schools and family medical centers. Because we think that only by showing an example, then that can be multiplied and more people would also invest on their own. Yeah.
Mirko, could you join? Could you take the question about some of the participants raised about the role of the business community?
Well, I would rather answer to the second one related to legal instrument, but also business community. Simply, the business community will act in accordance with the framework provided by the state. So, if we have a situation where the state actors, particularly state actors, inspection, those who are responsible to implement the law, are not fully committed to the law itself, then the business will try to find the solutions for increased profit. If we introduce, it is my point of view, if we introduce free market in renewables in the countries which are 2 years ago by the European Union declared as state captured, then we will instrumentalize corruption in the renewables. This is the problem. So free market without strong constitutional structure, without rule of law, and without participative democracy cannot be functional, particularly in those countries which are defined as state captured. It's mean the overwhelmed by the corruption. So this is it is the problem with the new law on renewables in Serbia, which introduced some subsidies and supports for improvement of renewables. For example, it defined that local authorities could free investors from some charges, like charge some construction fees and something like that, if he use renewable energy in residential building. But it is not defined what kind of energy, how much, what capacities. So it opens space for tremendous corruption on local level. And this is the problem. We need to be very careful, even though the law transposes certain instruments from renewable energy directive. It is not possible just to write out, to take parts from the directive and put it in the Serbian context. That's why I would, if you allowed me to answer to the second question, that's why I think, yes, the legal instruments are proper instruments. And yes, we should, first of all, as citizens, as civil society, and as social actors at all, we should use all institutional instruments which are provided, participate in public discussions, participates in environmental impact assessment procedure, participates in development of urbanistic and special plans. We need to do this. We need to do this to follow the process from the beginning. And of course, we need to strengthen the legal pressure, and this is something which RERI is doing, that we are working on cases which have capacity to influence the overall change. A few months ago, RERI submitted RERI sued electricity company of Serbia, and it was, it was the first time that any civil society organization used Article 156 of the law on obligations. It is not that I'm now claiming that RERI is the first, but the difference, I would say that the law on obligations is adopted for, I think, more than 40 years ago. And this is the first time that some civil society used this article, which is kind of the claim because of the environmental damage. So yes, we definitely need more legal actions, and this would tackle and trigger accountability. I would say again, no progress in implementation of environmental and energy policies, and there will be no progress in energy transition if those who did not implement the law properly should not be politically, legal, and social accountable. This is the baseline. They need to.
That, Mirko, answers some of the questions that participants proposed. One of the questions could be used as an introduction to our next round of discussion is energy democracy. Rinora, perhaps this is the right moment to say, what is it that you focus on, and do you feel that the playing field for you and your organization is open? Is your voice being listened? Who listens? Just citizens whom you're helping, or governments? The new one, it's early to say, but the previous government. So how do you see your weight in this discussion about how to protect the environment and reduce the health hazards caused by the air pollution?
Thank you for the question. Every organization in the beginning has struggles to be heard. And I remember that at the time when we were exposing facts and risks in the energy sector due to policies that were undertaken, at first were seen as tree huggers, I'll say, with which we didn't have a problem. But the governments were negligent towards the civil society. But due to persistency and quality of analysis and campaigns that we've done, we've managed to not be heard only by citizens who got informed and their awareness raised due to our actions, but also got invited from the government to participate in working groups in order to draft, let it be an action plan, amend a law, or also in the drafting of legislation. Every consultation, we make sure to participate in consultations, public consultations, but at the same time, the credibility of the organization grew due to several actions that we've done, where we have filed a lawsuit against the government itself for not providing documents to us when we asked for access to public documents. So all these actions basically made the government be more inclusive and ask us for the opinion, but also involve us in drafting documents. So the approach we use is we try to change things from inside by trying to give our expertise in these working groups. provide platforms for them to communicate these actions that they're undertaking to the wider public and get the feeling of theirs. Because without inclusion of citizens, no legislation is good, or as the saying is, nothing about us without us is for us. So we try to include civil society or be the bridge between the government and common citizens.
Mirko, do you feel that RERI is treated that RERI is treated as it should be by the lawmakers and the civil sector in general? Recently, when there was echo gathering in Belgrade, the largest so far, one of the comments from the Prime Minister was that people protest about environment regarding the environmental issues because they live well, and that the fact that you are concerned about the that you are concerned about the nature and clean air and water shows that your living standard is improving. In other words, do you see collocator within the government?
Well, I would say this attitude is, this statement is tremendously wrong. This statement is tremendously wrong because it is opposite to the facts, and the fact is that low and middle income countries are the most struck by the pollution. So this is the fact that this is not correct, that we are now speaking about environment because we are like some Nordic country where everything is good. So now let's speak about environmental problem. I would colored this debate with some issue being raised by the media recently. It is about the report of Global Alliance on Health and Pollution. About some data related to pollution in the world, and the striking fact was that Serbia is among top 10 countries with highest rate of death attributed to pollution per 100,000 people. It is not related only to air, but pollution at but the pollution as a whole. And Serbia share this unpopular position with countries like Chad, like Central African Republic, like North Korea, like Madagascar, Papua New Guinea, South Sudan, Somalia, etc., etc. So RERI decided to conduct a very short preliminary research, and we decide to compare certain other global reports, not related to the environment, but related to democracy and freedom. And what we find, that it is not only that Serbia shared the high rate of pollution-related death with those countries, but it shared also the high level of corruption, the fact that all 10 countries on this list are defined by Freedom House as not free or partly free. And also we use the Heritage Foundation Index of Economic Freedom, and all countries are mostly unfree or repressed. So I think this is the answer on your question, how civil society is treated, how civil society could be treated in country which is mostly free, which is not free country, where the corruption is quite high and where the repression from government is quite high. So RERI shared the destiny of all other civil society organizations. Maybe methodology is a little bit different. We are combating with certain specific issues like active legitimation of civil society in administrative, criminal, and civic procedures. And we won several cases, but we share the destiny. We are outsiders. We are not inside the process of decision making. And the process of decision making in Serbia is not aligned with the legally binding rules. The last situation with the law on nature conservation, the public discussion were conducted in not contrary to the rules of the rule book of government. So you have precise rules how to perform public participation, and it's not happened. So we are not speaking about, again, about the willingness of decision makers to introduce civil society. We are speaking about breaching the law.
Mm-hmm.
This is the issue.
The next and the final topic, and the perfect way to maybe complete the discussion is what can you people already very much involved, knowledgeable about the topic, can do together? Can you? Are there ways to close ranks? To make your voices louder. There is a question. It reads: if you agree that environmental sense is in progress in whole of the region, could you organize or support one common green meeting that would ask for clean air in the whole region, Serbia and Kosovo, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, Northern Macedonia, including Albania? Could such a meeting, such movement happen, Rinora?
Absolutely. Balkan Green Foundation has a specific program that is regional cooperation, because we believe that just jointly these challenges will be addressed. You said it in the beginning, because air or pollutants know no borders. They will fly without any passport or a political restriction, in a way that exists for people, but not for pollutants. So these things definitely need to be tackled jointly. And we should all think about kind of a joint change, because it doesn't matter if one country continues to invest in fossil fuel, the other one trying to decarbonize, the impact will be even beyond. So without countries implementing the pollutants pay principle, things won't get better. So, and us as civil society should work together and again, I will say, provide platforms for bringing together politicians who we know that it's not their will to come and sit and discuss with, let's say, all regional stakeholders. But such actions are very important. And us, kind of experts, but normal people, I'll say, can be the bridge and can be the ones who push for change and for unity and cooperation, because that will bring definitely a better life for all. So it is possible. That's a goal of our organization, and all the projects we do, kind of most of them are cooperation between different countries, kind of cross-border projects. Mm-hmm. So I think that is more than welcome, and we should aim for even small campaigns, but as well big regional conferences.
Mm-hmm. And Mirko, the final question for you. One participant is reminding us that EU Climate Week is approaching, and that is going to focus on depollution. So do you see in the future a huge organized, massive regional response to this necessity to make the energy transition, to continue fight for clean air, clean waters, protected natural habitats, all guaranteed by Constitution.
Well, I would not predict, or I would not allow myself to predict what will happen. There will be a huge, massive organizing reaction. But I would say, what is the fact now? The fact now is that we have in all countries in the region, we have, I would say, hundreds of small of local hotspots of local burning issue where local communities are rising. In Serbia, Kosovo, Montenegro, Bosnia and Herzegovina. So I would say that that massive reaction is ongoing. It is not something that we should waiting for. It is ongoing, and people are self-organizing themselves in a way that they know. Civil society organizations could help to a certain extent, cannot. It is important to understand that all actors in the society, that all of us, we all have certain duties in the process. Civil society, experts community. For me, it is very important that I can see, particularly in Serbia, that experts community is rising and reacting. This is very important because, you know, the knowledge is spreading around, but the most of specific knowledge and expertise is still among the academic and expert community. Some of them share their knowledge with civil society, some of them not. So it is important that all civic actors, all social groups understand the role and what they should do. For citizens, it is important to spread the message that a reaction, protesting, and asking, or better to say, requesting, arguing for clean air and protected environment is their basic right. It is the basic human right. So nobody should tell to any citizen in Western Balkan that he should not protest or should not engage in something which is politically alike. The question of endangered and polluted environment is politically questioned, and in democratic system, and we strive to be democratic countries, it is allowed for citizens to criticize the government and to participate in political processes, not only during election, but all the time. So for the end, that I would like to encourage citizens that yes, you have a right to protest, you have a right to react, and you have a right to criticize the government. And government has obligation towards the citizen.
Thank you, Mirko. And we are at the very end. Rinora, this is the time for, I have a feeling that we could go on for hours, but this is the time for the closing message. If there is something that you would like to add. You have to unmute yourself. Yeah,
Sorry.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think that just for one topic, it would take us more than 1 hour to discuss, and let it alone combining the two problems, which definitely are interlinked. Nevertheless, I want to say that until now, countries have not showed commitment for changing. Now is the time to do so. And I can't wait to look and read all national energy and climate plans of all countries when they are submitted, because that will show if there is any hope in these governments, or business as usual will continue until 2030 and until 2050, which is a thing that I don't want to see. Because we have no time to lose, and we should indeed, as civil society, be very active in monitoring all the investments that are done from our governments, and try to be the bridge that connects people, governments, in order to improve the situation, because it is for our well-being.
Thank you very much. It was pleasure listening to you, Rinora Gojani from Pristina of Balkan Green Foundation, and Mirko Popovic of RERI from Belgrade. I would like to think that this is just the beginning of the serial of discussions that would involve further representatives of civil sector and citizens and make their voice stronger when it comes to this extremely important topic. Thank you, Rinora and Mirko. Thank you all who watched and contributed with your questions. And thank you again to Friedrich Ebert Stiftung offices from Belgrade and Pristina, who recognized the importance of the topic and made such an excellent selection of panelists. That's all from us. Thank you, and have a nice weekend.